Hey guys, it's Mr. Bird here. I wanted to go over how to do the timeline assignment for today through Thursday. So what we've got here, or what I put in here, are summaries for our first two items: salutary neglect and the Enlightenment. Okay, so the idea is to go to the timeline to get these summaries, and I didn't have these items in the timeline because A, we studied one of them before, and B, the second one, the Enlightenment, is more of a world history thing, although it has strong impact on the United States. Okay, so what we want to take a look here at is salutary neglect first. Okay, so I put this summary in. Salutary neglect was a British policy in the 13 colonies, which allowed the colonists to violate the laws associated with trade. There were no effective enforcement agencies, and it was expensive to send British troops to America. Okay. In addition to that, the British policy of salutary neglect was not a written law, only a policy agreed upon by all involved, mostly due to gaining large profits. Okay. And so, what's the significance of this? The significance of salutary neglect is that the colonies had to build their own economies and governments to regulate their trade as they saw fit, thus making them more independent. Tonight, is that correct? Okay, there we go. It's okay. Okay, making them more independent. Okay. Okay, and so how did this? I'm gonna move myself over here, guys. Contribute to the Revolutionary War? Okay, so basically, I want to say this: the colonies thought of themselves as independent agents of the British Empire, not needing strong supervision or oversight. Therefore, when Britain tried to impose more control, colonies were, the colonies did not accept this change. Okay, it'd be kind of like you getting like be kind of like, your parents let you do something you want to do, and then turn around and say you can't do it anymore, and they never supervised you on it in the first place. Okay, and so do that for the Enlightenment. Okay, so the Age of Enlightenment. Oh, I'm trying not to sneeze. The Age of Enlightenment is the era in Western philosophy and intellectual, scientific, and cultural life that took place in the took place mostly in Europe in the early 1700s, in which reason was advocated as the primary source of legitimacy and authority, as a set of values that wanted to explore the world and build a society of equality and opportunity for all. I didn't do that quite right, did I? Period. Yeah, you see why I make you write complete sentences? The Enlightenment began Europe's slow march away from monarchs and churches controlling the masses. I forgot an ending period over here, too. Wow, I'm crazy. Okay, so what's the significance of this? The ideas of liberty and self-determination would influence the founding fathers of the United States to build a government based in reason and logic. Let's say reason, compromise, and the rule of law. They attempted to create a system by which any man could advance himself. Okay. That's the idea. And then what's this contribution to the American Revolution? The idea, a good example, I'm going to say it's a good example. A good example is the concept that all men are created equal with a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Property. Yay! Your teacher's dyslexic. Okay. Thomas Jefferson instilled this concept with a new idea, and America still strives for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. So, he put that in the Declaration of Independence. So I also want to point one little thing, take a side note here, about the difference between life, liberty, and the pursuit of property versus life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A lot of people cite the fact that we didn't put property into that, or Thomas Jefferson didn't put property into that because he was a large property owner and he was afraid that he might have to give up some of his property so that others might have property. And so it's kind of considered a short change on the idea. But in our modern age, the pursuit of property is not so much an important thing. Nobody needs a giant farm, or not everybody needs a giant farm anymore to live, or a ranch or a plantation, things like that. So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness works very good for us in the modern age, but it wasn't as advantageous back in the day it was created, when people literally had to buy land and grow their own food and make their own things, and sell things at markets to make money. But anyway, that's kind of how you do this. I thought I would go down here to the French and Indian War and take a look at one that actually is in the timeline of the American Revolution. By the way, the video is going here. So we go to the French and Indian War. We click here. It's going to pop open the French and Indian War. Okay. And so we're going to take a look at here after all these freaking ads pop up. Okay. What do we want to say about these? The final colonial war was the French and Indian War, which is the name given to the American theater of the massive conflict involving Austria, England, France, Great Britain, Prussia, and Sweden, called the 7 Years' War. The conflict was played out in Europe, India, and North America. This is why I mentioned that it was a world conflict, okay? in Europe, Sweden, Austria, and France were allied to crush the rising powers of Frederick the Great, King of Prussia. The English and the French. Battled for colonial domination in North America, the Caribbean, and in India. The English did ultimately come to dominate the colonial outposts, but at the cost of cost so staggering that the resulting debt nearly destroyed the English government. It was that debt that caused the escalation of tensions leading to the Revolutionary War. Parliament was desperate to obtain two objectives. First, to tax the colonies to recover monies expended on the battle over North America, and second, to restore the profitability of the East India Company in an effort to recover money spent in the battle over India. Okay, so what can we say about this? Okay, well, it's good to call it the final colonial war. Okay, and the French and Indian War, which is again given to the American Theater of the Massive, called the 7 Years' War. Okay, so I'm going to copy that and drop it over here into my worksheet. Okay. And I'm going to add this to it. I'm going to summarize the rest of the paragraph. This war caused massive debt to Britain. So much so that it was either get revenue or the government would collapse. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at this first sentence. I don't need the dates. In fact, they need to be moved over into this column. And we don't need those parentheticals. Okay, so we got that all set up nicely. So the final colonial war was the French and Indian War, which is the name given to the American theater of a massive conflict. And I'm going to take out involving Austria, England, France, Germany, Sweden, and just say it was called the 7 Years' War. Okay, this war caused massive debt to Britain, so much so that it was. Why do you want me to change that? Oh, that it would either that Britain would either need more revenue or the government would collapse. Okay? And so I'm going over here to significance. Why is this significant? The French and Indian War would change the relationship between Britain and the 13 colonies from one of. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this because I can never spell salutary right. Salutary neglect to one of direct control. Control. This would lead to animosity, animosity between both parties. Okay, and so what does that contribute? The resentment over new restrictions on colonies would begin. Let's say begin because it was already going on pretty much. Would accelerate. Excuse me. Accelerate the need for those in North America to desire independence. Okay. And so when you read these sections here, you should be able to get major hints as to how to summarize them or how to put this information in there. So when you have a giant group of sentences that tells you something, take out the main ideas and put them into one sentence. All right. So that is not on spot. Let me get back over here. Okay, so that is the first three done for you. And this is how you should find the worksheet when you open it. Okay. And then you can go and do this. Hopefully you can figure out the date of the next one without even opening the website. But anyway, that's everything I want to tell you about this timeline. I am available for questions. I can even have an impromptu session. In fact, I probably will announce an impromptu session tomorrow afternoon for everybody to sit down, or everybody sit down and watch me do a couple more or discuss a couple more so we can come together and do some as a team. In fact, yeah, I'll put that up on the classroom stream. But anyway, guys, this should be a really interesting exercise for you to get the idea of how we came from a group of colonies supporting Britain to our own independent country. This is only the first part because it takes us to the Declaration of Independence, and then we've got to get all the way from there to the actual ratification of our current Constitution and how we run our government today. But anyway, that's everything for now. Get started on the next few. I will see you on the flip side.